With me in the studio is Sheikha Mariam Kabir Fai, who is the author of the prize-winning book, Journey Through 10,000 Veils, The Alchemy of Transformation on the Sufi Path. Born Jewish, she was guided to live in a Christian monastery, and then she embraced in 1974 Islam at the hands of a Sufi master while in Jerusalem. Her autobiography has won the U.S. Book News Award for the Best Book on Spirituality in 2009, and the DYI Award for the Best Genre-Based Book. It has been selected as a Book of the Month for several groups, including, quote, the Daughters of Abraham at the Washington National Cathedral. Welcome, Sheikha Mariam. Now we have probably less than 9 minutes to talk in this first segment. How did you start on this journey?
A'udhu billahi minash shaitan nirajim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It was the mercy and compassion of Allah that created me in order to worship Him. That's how it began.
As it began for all of us.
And in my very early years on this planet, I had memories and recollections and understandings of things that I couldn't describe, and I didn't hear anyone talking about these things.
Now, you grew up in California in a Jewish family, religious or?
No, liberal, humanitarian, non-racist, good intentions.
What year is it? What year?
Well-intentioned.
This era is what? The civil rights?
I was born in 1946, a little before the civil rights. But the way in which I grew up inclined me very, very heartfully towards the civil rights movement. And that was what I loved most about my upbringing.
Okay.
And yet, no one seemed to acknowledge that there was a divine source for good actions, good intentions, and for our very existence. But I did know that there was internally.
Now, this spiritual journey through this physical existence that you're describing, at what age do you start feeling this connection?
I felt it all along. You know, when I started to be conscious as a small child of being alive, I was aware that something was moving me inside, and nobody was talking about it. So the information was coming from within, not from without. Until I was 12 years old, I was acting in a theater company, and the assistant director gave me a painting he made for me, which had an ancient man with a scroll, a lantern, and his beard and robe were blowing in the wind. He was walking in the mountains, and it said, "Seek, and the truth shall make you free." And that was the first sign in the outer world of the very deep spiritual inclination I was feeling. And I believe many people
What background
feel.
was this person from?
He was Catholic, actually. He was a Catholic from Canada.
Amazing. So from there...
So at that moment that I saw this vision, it was on the paper, but it was actually a call to me from my Lord, from the beloved, from the one who had the secret of that truth, you know, who was calling me to search for it. And so at that moment, I kind of woke up. It was what we call an aha moment. And then I said, well, this is really it. This is what the purpose of my life is.
And so you started moving. You went to Berkeley?
I went to Berkeley at the age of 16.
16?
I skipped the 6th grade and the 12th grade. And I believe because there was nothing more for me to learn in that sphere. That was the San Fernando Valley in the at the end of the 50s.
Right.
And I went to Berkeley where I fit in
Quite well, huh?
And there was a lot of, one great thing that happened in the 50s is that Reverend Martin Luther King came to the gym of ours. And I
okay.
went there, and he embodied that beautiful reality that, in fact, was resonating within me.
Amazing. Now you leave, in your journey, you leave Berkeley.
Yes, I stayed there for a while. We had also a theater company there. I seemed to have a lot to do with that modality.
So the writing and acting.
Yes,
and
writing,
it
acting,
seems-
painting, artistic, but all of it was spiritually oriented. I was trying to bear witness or kind of figure out what was guiding me, where it was leading me. And I did pay attention to those signs. And
it
I
led
wrote
you-
them down
Uh-huh.
in books. I kept writing down these dreams and the scriptures as I read them, all the scriptures that were available to me. And I mentioned that Ram Dass at that point was kind of a figure on the scene.
Okay.
And he would give
On the spiritual scene,
spiritual scene.
guiding people.
Yes, and bearing witness to some things that hadn't been spoken of.
Okay.
And when I would very rarely go out. After the theater company, I went into a deep retreat and spent most of my time alone. And that's when these messages started like intensifying and clarifying. And I went to some of his lectures generally, and he would be quoting from the scriptures certain key passages, and they were all the things I had written in my journal.
Amazing. And from that, it launches you, setting you free from having to be directed or guided, but allowing yourself to be guided by this, and it takes you outside of the United States.
Definitely, undoubtedly.
To where?
The first journey went, and the journey continued until now. This has been a divinely guided mystery tour.
I'm going to divinely guide you to, where did you go next?
I went
Because I want our listeners to know about this journey.
Sure. I went to, I was heading towards India, and that was because of that connection with those teachings that he was, voicing. And so I happened to go to London, and then I went to Germany, and then I got on the Orient Express, the well-known, famous,
Orient
and, beautiful kind of carrier that it was. And I basically let go of everything on that train.
Did you know where you were going?
I sensed that I was going to India, and I was going to India, really. And I went through, when the train stopped, I got out. And that was the nature of my journey, is that I was guided from one place to the next. Indeed, I embraced Islam in that way, as we will discover. It wasn't because I had it in my mind. It was because I was following the thrust of a much deeper kind of momentum. And one thing that happened is that I came to Afghanistan. As I say, I was simply put somewhere at a certain moment. I happened to be seeing the Khyber Pass, around me, and then the train stopped. I was in probably various cities in Afghanistan, and I got on a bus. I never knew how I would get to the next place, and I was on one of the buses with the bells rattling and beautiful, colorful people, and and what was amazing about it is the bus stopped in the middle of the desert when the call to prayer was uttered, and everyone on the bus got off and put out their rugs to pray in the desert. And so that was the first time I saw the Salat. And it called me in the most beautiful, non-political, non-fearful, natural way to wherever you're going on a journey, stop in the middle of the journey and praise the Lord who created you. So that's how I encountered Islam and continue to encounter it throughout years and years of journeys.
Well, we're going to have to take a short break from our journey, but we will be back in just a few moments to continue our discussion with Sheikha Maryam, inshallah.